Hey folks, it's Tom, your Frugal Prepper. I'm getting ready to plant my potatoes. And I got like 7 pounds of them, and I bought them from a place called Rainbow. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Rainbow Seed and Supply. They were on eBay. And these are Irish Cobbler certified seed potatoes. They're early maturing potato, medium-sized potato. And so these are really, I got these half off because they're really sprouted. But I can see, like on this potato, I can cut here and across here and get 3 eyes. Now, I've been doing tons of potato research and what methods are successful and not successful. I'm using the Mittleider gardening method. But I was looking all over YouTube. You will see people that do these like potato towers or grow their potatoes in a bucket. I grow them in a tire, but I don't really stack much on the tires. And there's a Facebook group and some videos from a guy that's the Kenosha Potato Project, and he's growing like 300 different varieties of potatoes and taking like notes on them, like how far up they grow from the bottom tuber and like all kinds of interesting stuff. And what he's noticed is a lot of your heirloom varieties that they don't really grow anymore, they'll grow up the vine a little bit as you put dirt on them, some of them, but a lot of the varieties do not. The varieties that are common commercial varieties these days, they don't want them to grow up, they want them to grow down, because if they grow up, then they get green and the skins get hard if they get past the soil level. So it does have a lot to do. If you're growing Yukons, Kennebecks, stuff like that, they're not going to grow up in a bucket for you very well. But another reason that most of these methods fail, from what I see, is they keep burying the vines as they come up. Now, when you add dirt to potatoes to try to stack them, the very first thing you have to remember is once that stem starts to set leaves in that spot, it won't grow tubers off of that part of the vine anymore. So you have to bury it really quickly after it comes through the soil. The other thing is, the basic laws of plant growth apply here. And what I think a lot of people aren't realizing when they're doing this is that potatoes are mostly carbohydrates. I mean, when you eat them, they're high in carbohydrates. That's why I'm diabetic and I don't really eat many potatoes, but my family loves them. But they're carbohydrates. Where do carbohydrates come from in a plant? Well, they come from carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen that gets combined, and it makes a carbohydrate. And how do plants make carbohydrates? Well, carbohydrates turn into sugars. In potatoes' case, they're a starchy sugar, mostly. But in, say, the case of celery, it's cellulose, which is also a complex sugar. It's so complex that the human body can't break that down because we don't have 4 stomachs like a cow, right? But it is still a sugar. Like, your very structure of your plant is really cellulose. It's a sugar. Okay, in potatoes, it's stored as a more simple sugar, which is a starch that we can break down and use as sugar. But where does it come from? It comes from photosynthesis. Okay, that's how plants make carbohydrates, is with photosynthesis. If your potato is not getting light and it does not have foliage, you're not going to have big potatoes and you're not going to have a lot of them. So if you keep piling dirt on the vine, I mean, you see people who pile dirt on, they pile the dirt on too late, they pile too much of it on, and they got these, little tiny stems at the top, and they're like, I'm going to have a big box of potatoes. And it's amazing because I've not seen a single video where somebody's opened up their potato tower and been like, it's just full of potatoes. They always cut the video out and then show a big thing of potatoes afterwards that aren't dirty and are obviously from a grocery store. They don't come back and show the harvest at all. Or some people are honest about it and they're like, I got 5 potatoes. And they're not that big, right? Or maybe it's even 5 big potatoes, but it's not a tower full of potatoes. Okay? Because those methods don't get the appropriate photosynthesis needed to grow lots of nice large potatoes. The leaves are important in potatoes. It's not just about the underground part where the potato grows. It's what's above ground that makes the potato. So that's my theory as to why it doesn't work. And you want lots of foliage for your potatoes to grab lots of light. And that's what makes big potatoes. It's what's on top that makes what's down below big and plentiful. So the way I'm going to be planting these potatoes, I've done a lot of reading, and there's a lot of debate on, do you cut potatoes, do you plant them whole? And from what I've been seeing, in general, it doesn't make a lot of difference in the harvest, but it does save you on seed. And then, of course, the question is, after you cut them, do you let them sit for a couple days and let it skin over on the part that was cut? Letting it skin over might help prevent disease once it gets into the soil. From my general feeling, and this is my opinion, I'm not a potato expert, I'm just a guy that's been doing a lot of reading, trying to figure this out, is that in the warmer months, like now I'm doing a fall planting, or I'm planning for a fall harvest, but it's warm now, they're going to take off pretty quick. You can cut them and put them right in the ground. As a buffer, to help protect against some of the fungus, is you can sprinkle a little sulfur over the cut part, which I will probably do, and put them right in the ground, but you wouldn't have to use the sulfur. As far as the potatoes sprouting, from my understanding is potatoes are typically dormant after you harvest them, and when they stay at a low temperature in storage. But when you bring them out where it's a little bit warmer and humid, they'll come out of dormancy. And you can tell a potato comes out of dormancy because it'll start to grow little small eyes, like this little tiny eye over here and this little tiny eye right here. Then you get sprouts as it continues, and these are your sprouts coming out of the eyes. Now, if those sprouts break off, they don't regrow. So this potato here was damaged in shipping, and the sprouts have broken off, and it's not got any more eyes on it anywhere that are alive and functional. Well, maybe there's an eye right there, I'm not sure. I might try planting this guy, I might not. But basically, if all your sprouts have broken off because you let them get really big and there's no more eyes, then you're not going to have anything out of that seed potato. And even ones that have grown large sprouts, like right here, well, if you look, there's still another eye here that hasn't developed. I can cut that in half and make 2 seeds out of it. I've decided to plant, as probably just 1 eye per hole to maximize the amount of potatoes I can get in the ground. You could plant, a lot of people I've heard say 2 eyes per hole. But when I've looked at people's harvests, I haven't seen that much difference between planting 1 eye per hole and 2 eyes per hole, or a whole seed potato per hole. So, I'm just going to go for it. These should start and take off pretty quick. And they're going to be going in my Mittleider garden bed, which I will show you here in just a minute. Here's the garden bed. I didn't have enough topsoil to fill this guy up enough, and the topsoil places are both out of topsoil, both of them, and I didn't want to dig any more holes in the yard, so I decided to do a mixture of sand and peat moss, which is acceptable according to the book. And I also tilled through here, and there's some of the topsoil from underneath that got mixed in with this peat moss. I should say, I already put down my 1 pound per side of weekly feed, and I put down my pre-plant, and then I'll till that in, and it's 2 pounds of pre-plant per side. I'll till all that in, and then I'll be ready to level it out and put my potatoes in the ground once the rain goes away, which this came up real fast, so I'm sure it'll blow over quick. Anyway, I will be back as I start getting the potatoes planted and stuff after this rain's gone. Here's my other real quick potato plants. As you can see, there's a lot of foliage here. They're getting really big. They're flowering. I've already propped them up a couple of times, but I want to let that foliage grow and collect sunlight. That's what's going to make big, good, strong, healthy potatoes. You need the foliage, folks. That's the difference I'm seeing between people that get harvests and people that don't. Some of the other important factors are soil temperature and moisture content. Potatoes need to be moist, and they like cool soil. But like any plant, it'll grow a little bit outside of its ideal conditions, just not as much. You get it as close as you can. Okay, I'm going to get in here because it's starting to rain and get my seed potatoes back inside for the moment, or at least cover them up maybe with a tarp. And I will see you folks once I can get back out here, probably later this evening, because right now I'm just on my break for work. So we'll see you later this evening. Thanks.